Now we're given a parabola, which is a quadratic function, and we want to be able to find the vertex of the parabola. Now there's a formula for this. If your equation of the parabola looks like this, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, either y or f of x, then the equation, the coordinates of the vertex hk are given by negative b over 2a and f of negative b over 2a. So all we need to do is figure out what these things are for this equation. So in this case, you'll see that a is 3, b is negative 12, and c is 16. So I'm going to use this information to find the vertex of the parabola. So h will be negative b over 2 times a. That's b is negative 12, so it's negative of negative 12 over 2 times 3, which is a. So that's negative of negative 12 is positive 12, and 2 times 3 is 6. 12 over 6 is 2. To find the value of k, we need to find f of negative b over 2a, which in this case we just found out is 2, so we want to find f of 2. Now in order to find f of 2, all you need to do is look at f of x, and wherever you have x, you're going to replace it with a 2. You're going to find the value of the function at 2. So that's 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 minus 16. Let's simplify that. That's 3 times 4 minus 12 times 2 is 24 minus 16. Of course, you can do this using your calculator. 3 times 4 is 12 minus 24 minus 16, which is negative 28. This means that I have the values of h and k both. So my vertex is hk, which is 2 and negative 28. Let's move on to the next part. We want to find the x and the y-intercepts. Before we do this, what I'm going to do real quick is to try and draw a picture of what this should look like. Now the vertex of this parabola is at x equals 2 and y equals negative 28. So the vertex is going to be somewhere here. And since the coefficient of x squared is 3, which is positive, this is going to be a parabola that faces upwards, so it looks somewhat like this. The picture is not drawn to scale. So which means there's going to be 2 x-intercepts and there's going to be 1 y-intercept. Now we want to find out what all these points are. Now the x-intercepts are given by the points where the equation cuts, the graph cuts the x-axis, and so in order to find the x-intercepts, we're going to plug in the equation of the x-axis, which is y equals 0. So in order to find the x-intercepts, we're going to set y equals 0 in the equation, which means 3x squared minus 12x minus 16 equals 0. Now this is going to be a tricky one. I'm going to need to use the quadratic formula to come up with the factors of this. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. That's the quadratic formula, which is equal to, in this case, b is negative 12. So negative of negative 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 16 over 2 times 3. Now negative of negative 12 is positive 12 plus or minus the square root of, if you work this out, you get 336. Now these are difficult numbers to work with, over 6. We're going to simplify this a little bit. So that's 12 plus or minus. Now the root of 336, if you factor out, I'm going to do this in this little box here. 336 is 4 times 4 times 21. So since there's 2 4s, I can pull them out of the square root and write this as 4 times square root of 21 over 6. And 12, 4, and 6 all have a common factor of 2. So I can pull out the 2, and I have 6 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 21 over 6. And then I cancel 2 times 1, 2 times 3. So I have 6 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 21 over 3. Okay, that's quite a handful. So that means that my x-intercepts in this case are 6 plus the square root of 21 over 3, and 6 minus the square root of 21 over 3. In order to write down the x-intercepts, you can write them down like this. The x-intercepts are 6 plus square root of 21 over 3, 0, and 6 minus square root of 21 over 3, 0. We write them as the coordinates. Now we also need to find out the y-intercepts. I'm going to do that. I did not think this through. I'm going to do that in this little corner over here. So for the y-intercepts, what you need to do, this is going to be easier. All you need to do is set x equals 0, because the y-intercepts are wherever the equation cuts, the equation of the graph of the equation cuts the y-axis, and that's going to be at the point where x equals 0, because that's the equation of the y-axis. So set x equals 0, and so you get y equals 3 times 0 squared minus 12 times 0 minus 16, since 3 times 0 squared is just 0 and 12 times 0 is 0, those cancel out, and that leaves you with just y equals negative 16. And so the y-intercept of f over here is going to be 0, negative 16. You'll see that it's on the y-axis, so that's how you write down the coordinate. Okay. Now for part C, the axis of symmetry for the parabola is the line that cuts through the parabola exactly in the middle, and that's going to be whatever is the, you look at the coordinates of the vertex and there x is equal to 2, so the line that's parallel to the y-axis is x equals 2, and that is the axis of symmetry that you're looking for. And finally, you want to know what the domain and range of f are. Now to do this, I'm going to quickly draw the picture here again. So we had 2 and we had negative 28, and this was the vertex, and it goes up like this, the parabola. So now the domain of the parabola is all the possible x values that can be taken, and you'll see that there's no restriction on the x values that can be taken. The parabola will extend infinitely in both the directions. And so the domain of f in this case is going to be negative infinity, positive infinity. And what about the range? The range is all the possible y values that can be taken. So the y values you'll see only start at negative 28 and it goes all the way up. There are no values that are taken below negative 28. And therefore, the range of f will be negative 28, infinity. Everything from negative 28 to infinity. One more thing to note is that there is a value that is actually taken at negative 28, so I should correct this. This should be not a parenthesis but a square bracket, because negative 28 is included.